The Boston Celtics can't keep getting away with this. They re-signed Payton Pritchard to a 4-year, $30 million extension before the start of last year's season. Payton Pritchard is making up 4.7% of the team's total cap space, and that is going to drop every single year until he's under his last year of his deal in 2028, where he's going to be making $8.3 million. Payton Pritchard is currently the odds-on favorite to win Sixth Man of the Year this season by a wide margin, and he's exactly what the Celtics need right now to extend their hopes of creating a dynasty in today's NBA. The Celtics have had their fair share of injuries to start off the year after they won a title. Kristaps Porzingis was hurt to start off the year. He recently came back. Jaylen Brown has had a few injuries this year. Same with Derek White. And with Drew Holiday and Al Horford getting up there in age, they needed somebody to step up this year, and that has been the former Oregon Duck, who so far through 21 games is averaging 16.4 points, 3.1 rebounds, 2.9 assists, and is shooting 48% from the field, 43% from three on 8.5 attempts, as well as he's shooting 87% from the line and over a steal a night as well. And he has been over a tear over his last week throughout 4 games. He's averaging 24.5 points, over 5 rebounds, shooting 55% from the field, 49% from three on 11 attempts a game. Those are Steph Curry numbers. And Pritchard, who is 26 years old, is going to be making $6.6 million this year, $7.3 million next year, $7.7 million in 2027, and $8.3 million in 2028. He's making a third of what Bruce Brown is making this year, DeAndre Hunter, Kyle Kuzma, Clint Capella, Terry Rozier, a bunch of guys that he is way more productive than, and the Celtics have him as arguably their 6th best player right now. And this is a team that was the best team in the league last year. They won the 2024 NBA Finals. They were the odds-on favorite to repeat this year, and Payton Pritchard is going to be the big X factor why they're going to be favorites once again throughout this whole season. And it's funny looking back on the criticism that the Boston Celtics received with this contract extension, because Payton Pritchard didn't really have the greatest 2023 season, but the Celtics were very smart to do this prematurely and lock up Payton Pritchard for the long haul when they thought his value couldn't be any lower, because he was coming off a year where he averaged 5.5 points, 1.8 rebounds, 1.3 assists, and shot 41% from the field in just 13 minutes a night. And it's even funnier to look back on the players that Boston took him and they passed up on, like Jaden McDaniels and Desmond Bane. And up until this point, you thought that the Celtics maybe fumbled an all-star caliber talent on the offensive end in Desmond Bane, or an all-star caliber talent on the defensive end in Jaden McDaniels. And this year, Payton Pritchard has been better than both those guys, and it really hasn't been close. And those two guys got massive contract extensions from the Grizzlies and Timberwolves, while Payton Pritchard is going to be making under $10 million a year for the next 4 years. And a few months before he received the contract extension, he actually requested a trade from the Boston Celtics because he was behind all these guards in Boston at the time, like Marcus Smart, Malcolm Brogdon, who eventually won Sixth Man of the Year with that team, and newly acquired Derek White. But he didn't get his wish for financial reasons, as The Athletic reported that Boston had some hard decisions to make at that time. The Celtics were already $4 million into the luxury tax with 12 people on the roster, and that is without re-signing Grant Williams, which was a big question mark for Boston in that 2023 offseason, which is really funny to look back on. And Payton Pritchard is currently 15th in the NBA in 3-point attempts, and if you average it out to per 36 minutes, he's actually number 7. So right now he's averaging 8.6 threes a game. That is more than James Harden, Trae Young, Klay Thompson, notable guys that have been taking a lot of threes throughout their careers, but he's also just one of the best 3-point shooters in the league this season, especially on this volume. When you look at guys that are only taking more than 5 threes a night, the only players that are shooting better than him 3-point percentage wise are Steph Curry, good company to be behind, Buddy Hield, Karl Anthony Towns, Kyrie Irving, AJ Green, and Norman Powell. So right there, Payton Pritchard is in some pretty good company with guys that are 3-point specialists or some of the greatest and the greatest shooter of all time. And Payton Pritchard has just turned his 3-point shot around over the course of his career, because he was a 4-year player at Oregon and he was very inconsistent from downtown. In his freshman year, he shot 35% from 3 and 39% from the field. He broke out in his sophomore year at Oregon, where he averaged 14.5 points, shot 41% from 3 and 44% from the field, but then dipped back down in year 3 in his junior year, where he just shot 41% from the field and 32% from 3, and then in his senior year, 46% from the field and 41% from 3. And if you dig deeper into the shooting numbers, they really pop out at you, because he's shooting 45% from 3 this season on catch and shoot threes, where he's taking about 5.5 of those a game. He's shooting 39% on pull-up threes, where he's taking about 3 of those a night. He's shooting 50% on catch and shoot twos, 65% on pull-up twos, and he's shooting 70% at the rim, which is just insane for a smaller guard like Payton Pritchard, who is only 6'1". And I know you may think that's tall relative to everybody in the world, but in the NBA, that's pretty small. He's shooting 47% on contested threes, and that really made my jaw drop. He's shooting 45% on open threes and 40% on wide open threes. He's actually shooting better when he's being guarded rather than when he's being wide open, which also just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And the advanced numbers also love Payton Pritchard, as he is at a career low in turnover percentage in his career, which is crazy because he's at his highest usage rate, which is also wild that he has a career high in true shooting percentage by a wide margin. His career high in true shooting percentage was last year with the Boston Celtics at 59.7%. This year, it's up to 67.8%, and his usage rate has jumped up to 20% this season, and is just going to be hovering around that rate at this point with all the injuries to Boston. And Payton Pritchard has been relatively a healthy guy throughout his college and NBA career, and the Celtics are going to be relying on him a ton, especially with all this mileage on these players, as some of their guys are getting older, like I mentioned before, and Jrue Holiday and Al Horford. Derek White played in the Olympics. Jason Tatum, obviously they played super late into the season last year. Jaylen Brown being banged up, like I mentioned as well. Payton Pritchard is going to be a reliable piece for this team, and he is just taking every single advantage of this opportunity. And you look at the Celtics this year, they're the 8th ranked defensive team, the 3rd ranked offensive team. They're number 1 in net rating right now, so they're still going to be the favorites to win it all. They're 17-4 at the moment I'm recording. They're 17-4. They're 2nd in the Eastern Conference, and they are making up ground on the Cleveland Cavaliers, who got off to that 15-0 start. They handed the Cleveland Cavaliers their first loss of the season. Jason Tatum is playing like an MVP caliber player right now. Jaylen Brown got off to a slow shooting start, but his numbers look really good still, and you'd like for the efficiency to be a little bit better, but that is going to come over the course of this year. We've had a very large sample size in Brown's career as a good shooter. Derek White is showing that he could be an all-star and maybe the Michael Jordan of role players when it's all said and done, as he's averaging career highs across the board as well. 18 points, 4.5 assists, 4.8 rebounds, and he's shooting 47% from the field and 41% from 3 on 9 attempts a night. The Celtics are just taking threes left and right, and Payton Pritchard is a big part of that. Jrue Holiday's averaging 11.7 points. Al Horford is averaging 9.4 points, and those two guys are 34 and 38. Sam Hauser, you could say, has been somewhat of a disappointment this year, and maybe the Celtics do need somebody else to come off the bench and contribute for this team if Payton Pritchard is going to be inserted to the starting lineup, or is going to be their only reliable player off the bench, because maybe you can't put too much faith into Neemias Queta or Ricky Bell-Shireman, or like I mentioned, Sam Hauser. Maybe they're going to get something out of Drew Peterson throughout the rest of the year, and he's just going to turn into this great three-point shooter out of nowhere and just be Sam Hauser 2.0 for this team. And I honestly think on the open market, Payton Pritchard would probably get $20+ million a year. Some team would probably view him as Jalen Brunson 2.0, bring him over to your team, and if you increase his shots per game, his usage rate, he can actually be an all-star caliber guard in the NBA. So yeah, I had to talk about Payton Pritchard. I think he's just been so much fun to watch this year, and I would love to know what you guys think about Payton Pritchard and the Boston Celtics as a whole down below. Drop a thumbs up if you guys did enjoy, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.